check that out and see if anybody else is there. There are other businesses on there, but primarily Amazon. We get a little bitty cut from. It doesn't raise your price. It just Amazon gives us a small percentage of what you spend there. If you have a laptop with Wi-Fi access, feel free to bring it to our main meetings. We share, in this case, we got Wi-Fi going here, Steve?
The church's Wi-Fi is already going.
It is going. Okay,
And
does that require a password
for that?
I don't remember offhand. Does anyone need to connect into Wi-Fi? Yes. All right, we'll look up the password.
Okay. Okay, now that we've done all of that, here's the schedule for tonight's meeting, and I will, as usual, be asking people what we're doing. Steve, you're going to do more settings. Is that for iOS?
I thought I'd do a little bit for iOS and a little bit for macOS.
Okay. And after the opening Apple News and Q&A and stuff like that, is that when?
I don't know.
I need to ask.
I don't think anyone decided on what order we're doing things in.
Right.
How ready are you, Rick?
If I can have AirPlay working,
It is.
all right. If you can help me to get that working, you know, I can go.
Go to AirPlay menu and choose the cider book as the destination.
I meant to ask Skip when we were introduced if it's okay if he does his presentation on 3D printing after our ice cream break. Is that all right? Good. Wonderful.
Give him the
Thank
most
you.
time
Yeah.
and get it set up. All right, so do you want to go first, Rick, or do you want me to go first?
I think we're all set here. I'll go away. Bye.
I can go first if I can get the AirPlay thing working. It's not showing up for me for some reason.
We're going to use ours.
Preferences. Okay. Which one? 5G?
You can't find the device if you're not on the network. All right, so I have to bring up the network password.
Hmm.
I am going to black out the stream for a moment so we don't stream on the network password. This button off. And this I need to point to Rick. What, down toward Rick? No. And of course, I'm not going to be able to see how far you can stretch it to get it closer to him. I have to go to my keychain, look up the password. I am connected to the RCLC wireless network. Risen Christ Lutheran Church. Yeah, you know the password offhand?
Slow down. Oh, start over. At me in my house. Yeah. It is. It worked.
Thank you.
So now I'm on the network. So now hopefully we can do AirPlay. Okay, so where's the AirPlay? Oh, here. Okay. Cider book. All right. All right. I think we're live here. That's good.
Yep. Now let me turn the broadcaster back on. Okay, how to get to the rest of my screen when yours is using the airplay. All right, I can do that. Okay, now can turn that on. All right, and we do you full screen.
Okay.
Where did my earbuds go? Earbuds are still at home. All right, audio's working.
All set?
Yep. And you're getting that? Yep.
Okay. Tonight I'm going to talk about Imatone, voice to MIDI, with an interface that uses audio and figures out what note it is that you're singing or whistling and turns it into a MIDI note. This is just in beta. We like to tell you folks things are on the cutting edge here, so keep everything current. But it is in beta, and it was done with a Kickstarter. And the guy put together a nice little video that kind of shows what the purpose was and how he hoped the whole thing would come together. Obviously, this is, you know, given a perfect word how it would work. I'm not hearing anything, Steve. All right, so I guess I got to figure out why we're not getting anything here. All right, system press, sound. Yeah, okay. Let's see if that does it.
Have to show off some of the shortcuts.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Oh boy. All right, let me scroll down again.
There's no setup required. You just start launching Imatone. Then you launch your favorite MIDI-enabled music program. Then you sing into the microphone, and just like that, your voice is automatically converted into notes if you are playing them yourself.
So
this is if you don't have a lot of friends to be in your band.
Well, it makes things a little easier for you. You know, if you can think of a note and sing it or whistle it, and have it, you know, automatically just go right into your music program. You know, it's MIDI information. Then you can say, I want it to be voice. I want this to be a piano, or I want it to be a trumpet, or I want it to be, you know, guitar playing. So it gives you power. Now, he raised something like $90,000, I think, to be able to do this, and it's still in beta. And I was hoping that, you know, he'd have it long by now. But so I can show you what he has done thus far, and as to how well it comes to that ideal that he wanted. So he said, launch Imatone first. So we're going to do that. And here, anything I say will be used against me. Do, 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 do.
anything it hears will be used.
And anything it hears, that's correct. See, anything I say is becoming notes. All right, it's in chromatic. You can set the scale. See, it's quite on yet.
It's really interesting that the computer can tell what note it is.
Yes, I can put it to sleep too for the moment, so I can actually talk to you and not have it. That's a good question. I don't know. I think it's any combination thereof. It should be several notes at once, but so you can set the scales, like if you want a G major or a D major, and it'll go around for you each time you click. And you can see sort of what it's doing with the keys. It blacks out the ones that won't be in the scale. And it'll give things even like pentatonic scales, and you can do whole tone scales. You can if you're in like GarageBand, which I actually am in at the moment too, but I want to come back after the interface here. So it's not that good. It does sort of. I mean, you know, it becomes a MIDI note, but if you wanted to sing a G and it thinks you sang a G sharp, it's going to come out as a G sharp. You know, if you're a little bit off, it should round it up or down.
And then you could edit that back in
And then you
GarageBand.
can edit it
Yeah.
later, yeah. So it'll do whole tone and chromatic scales. And
sort of one thing to notice here is he doesn't have a physical piano board. The computer's generating a form. He's done some presentations in the past with other music programs that need a physical keyboard. And he's just using his voice.
mm-hmm. So the interface is a little strange. He used these round little icons for things. And so if you want help in animation, you know, you can put that. And that's about all he's got right now for back on it. He's got this reset tracking in MIDI. So if, you know, some note comes on and it's stuck on, you can turn it off. There's monitoring for with headphones, so you can hear what tone is producing itself. There's tracking for the computer, whether it's fast or whether it's slow. It uses it for the slow, and it means that the tracking is probably more reliable because it's not. It's taking more sampling over time. There's this slide mode lock. If you have a voice or you're whistling and you're going sliding around, it can interpret that in different ways depending upon what you set this mode for. And there's like several. There's a legato mode. That's not supported by all instruments, you know, certainly some. There's a portamento mode. And there's pitch bend.
Oops, want to explain what those music terms are?
Portamento, we should actually probably go to the dictionary for, because it's not.
How many people took piano lessons when they were a kid?
Oh, where's my website? Here it is. All right. So the definition is a passing or gliding from one tone to another with a smooth progression. All right, let's get back to down here. And slide mode means it won't interpret any slides that you do at all. And that's almost better for, you know, trying to have note recognition. Then he's got this other thing. You may notice there's these sliders, and they go up and down, and you can determine your max and your minimum thresholds for when a note should be recognized and at what volume. The trigger mode here, when it's a feather, means that if it's a small volume change, it'll pick it up. If it's set as a hammer, then it's a hard note. So you got to hit it pretty hard, you know, before it's going to register. Then there's this velocity control, and that determines it's either on or off. Depending on how hard you hit the note determines how much of an expression you get off of that note. It's like the difference between hitting a piano key softly or hitting it hard. And there's this other one for your audio and MIDI setup, which is pretty easy to use. There's a couple other controls. This will control the pitch, what if it's listening to your full range or just a partial range. There's a whistle range. And then you can also do it by octave as well. So if you're singing in a particular octave, you can say, oh, well, I really want the note to sound an octave higher than that. You can hit the plus and it'll put it up an octave higher, or 2 octaves higher, or 3 octaves higher. And you can do the same going down as well. So if you have a high note, it'll make it lower. Then there's this thing up here, which is for vibrato control. So if you're one of these people that sings with a lot of vibrato, that can lessen the amount you have, so that it'll still interpret the note properly. And then this other one here is a tone stabilizer, which is also experimental and has a similar function. And he hasn't even mapped everything out yet that he's trying to do here. There's also this thing over here which tells you how much CPU you're using. So if those numbers go too high, you might say, oh, I've got to, you know, stop using as many applications at the same time, or use fewer instruments or something. So you want to see that that is a low percentage, and you know that, you know, Imatone is working really well. Okay, so let's see how that works with GarageBand a little better here. I have GarageBand running in the background, and you can see I have the keyboard here, and so that way I can make sure I'm using different instruments properly. Oh. All right, so now if I turn Imatone back on, and if I sing or whistle, you'll hear that now the electric piano is what comes out. And I can even record that, so I'll press record. Alrighty. All right. Put it to sleep again. Okay, so you heard it didn't come out all that great yet. So they've got some work to do on it. And I was hoping that maybe I could get this working with Sibelius, because Sibelius has something called step note entry, which allows you to play a note, and then when the note is correct and you like it, you say, okay, now I want you to put it down and record it. And then you move on and you do the next note the same way. And I think that would be nice if you got into Imatone, sort of a gate, and maybe you just have a key that you press, you know, when you finally hit the correct note. So maybe I'll write to him and suggest that. So that's what it recorded. Any questions?
So where do you see a use for this in the music production system?
Well, as I said before, someone who maybe didn't have other types of musical skills, like maybe they don't play an instrument, they don't play piano, they don't play flute, they, you know, and any musical instrument, but they can sing or they can whistle. Well, this gives them a way of actually putting music down. Is either a recorded MIDI instrument, or, you know, into a music notation program such as Sibelius or Finale. Yes, Sibelius will print out score Finale.
GarageBand shows you the score.
It shows you the score,
But it won't print it?
I know there's a facility for printing. I can look at that.
Other than shots, which would be just annoying.
Yeah, if you go into the edit mode, and then you have to change it over to notes.
Up and right a little bit, there's a score, piano roll versus score.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Thanks, Steve.
All right, there's the score.
So there's the score.
Try right-clicking on that and hitting, see if there's a print. Nope.
Nope,
You made a note.
it makes a note.
So there's where you can edit the notes if you're a little off on your sharps and flats.
Yeah.
So GarageBand is this really powerful tool for making music that comes free with all your Macs and iPads. And you don't even have to have any musical ability because there's instruments built into it. But it's what we call extensive also. So this Imatone program has been plugged in and extends the functionality of GarageBand. And a lot of the stuff that Rick has shown over the years uses GarageBand as its base because they know everyone already has it. So you can make soundtracks for your movies and highlights, which is really neat. Skip, you had a question?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, good idea.
Doug, you had a question?
Yes.
So the question is, can you hum into it and have the sound come out as an instrument?
That's exactly kind of what I was doing.
Yep. There was a demonstration on stage. Why don't you go back in and show that off again? Steve Jobs did a demonstration on stage with GarageBand and John Mayer, who's a very popular musician. And John was playing, he was playing the guitar, and Steve made a guitar sound come out of the speakers from GarageBand. John kept the guitar, and Steve made a piano sound out of it. So the instrument you play doesn't really have any correlation to the instrument you hear, because the computer can change all of those notes into a different instrument. That's kind of the purpose of MIDI. Is it's the musical instrument digital interface, and every piece of music has a value, and one of those values is what instrument you're playing. So you can very easily change the instrument. GarageBand does have correction for singing voices. That's built in. So once you do a piano and do a guitar,
Okay.
so we
well,
can hear the differences between them.
Okay, so before you heard the electric piano, I'll switch over to a Steinway Grand.
Maybe turn off the metronome so we don't hear that ticking.
Yeah, sorry about that. Let's see.
Now, where is it?
Yeah, where is it? Is always a fun.
Is it that the little blue icon above the?
Or just say none.
That's the purple icon in the upper right. That like a metronome. Farther to the right.
This one.
Oh, they call it click.
Yeah.
Because not everyone will know what metronome is because they didn't take piano lessons when they were kids, like all of us.
All right, let me turn Imatone back on. And, I'm sorry, it's playing back this other one. I gotta silence that. Okay.
So that would play back over yourself if you wanted to.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was doing there. Let's try this. Do, 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 do. Do, do, do. Do, do, do. All right, so that's that one. And then, stop this. And let's try some other instrument here. Let's try
Tone wheel organ.
guitar. So you'll go into guitars. And we'll do an acoustic guitar. All right. Do, do. Of course, I have Imatone turned off. Do, 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 do.
By yourself, you can adjust the music.
So he's got a ways to go with it. I'm sorry? Yeah, yeah.
Charlie, you had a question? Depends on your RAM. GarageBand will allow at least 64 tracks with a decent amount of RAM. Pardon? Yes, you can see it. So in Rick's window here, he's got, 8 different instruments running now. So each track can have a different instrument, or well, there's more instruments if you scroll. You can have the same instrument on multiple tracks playing different things.
And then when you're editing, you can also do things like say, oh, I want to do a take. And you can have, I think, up to 5 different takes. And you can record a take and, then when you're all done, select the one that you like the best for that section of time.
GarageBand for the iPad has a really neat feature where it will link several iPads together, I think up to 4 iPads together. So you and your friends can each be playing a separate instrument and it records it all as one song. So how much is that Imatone now?
I think it's, what do they say, 25 for the basic and then 60 for the studio version.
Which isn't really bad for instruments.
No, and it's an interesting interface, so stay tuned.
We just installed a pipe organ instrument for a customer to his GarageBand, and it was $1,800 for one organ, and he had 10 different organs he was doing because they recorded it these actual cathedral organs, Westminster Abbey and Notre Dame Cathedral, and so these instruments are expensive. But most of the instruments you get, most of these plugins like that, are relatively inexpensive.
It also was supposed to work on PC as well, so you can tell your PC friends. Alrighty, that's it for me.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Rick.
You're welcome.
Now you'll want to go to play menu and turn AirPlay off. So I stop seeing your screen. One of the interesting things we found with the AirServer command that turns your computer into an AirPlay receiver, multiple people can send it to one device and they all show up on your screen. So normally with your Apple TV, basically it's what is just turning my computer into an Apple TV. Normally if you're at home and you've got 3 people trying to send video to your Apple TV, the last one gets it. So the next one who sends it, the first one turns off, and the next. So it's interesting. We were showing this AirServer program at one of the meetings. Someone tried it, and I was seeing 2 screens on my computer. Alrighty, so let's look at some of the SES features, and let's see. I got to get to a nice. Let me get to a clean window here, so you don't see all of my cheat sheets. I don't know. Is that very clean? Not very. How many people have a zillion things on your desktop? How many people have nothing on their desktop? It tends to be those two camps. And then everyone likes desktop pictures. So the more stuff you have on your desktop, the less of your picture you can see. So let's start with some of the Mac settings. And there's some really interesting and quick settings you can get right from the menu bar. Your speaker menu. People are familiar with that. You can pull that down and change the volume on your computer. But one of the things is you on the option, and you'll find this on a lot of different programs. In fact, I have to switch my video inputs now that I'm thinking of that. Sorry. So those people watching at home can see me now. Okay. Is the FaceTime camera going to pop up? Infinite regression of my desktop going to the broadcaster. I don't see the FaceTime camera. And it's not coming up on my. All right, let me quit and relaunch my video twister. So one of the things we do is broadcast live on YouTube. So if you can't make it to the meeting, then you can see the meetings. And you can also go back to YouTube and watch the meetings after the fact. There we go. Now my line is on, and you can see me on the screen. Where was I? Find her. So the Option key does a lot of things when you combine it with menu commands. So if I hold on the Option key and choose, nope, I'm going to do that in a minute, and choose the speaker. Now I have options for my input devices and my output devices. Normally, you have to do your system preferences to do your inputs and outputs. And I can change where I want my audio import to come from, using this external microphone now, or if it comes from my camera. My output to the headphones, or I could send it to the Apple TV. So that's apparently we have 2 Apple TVs here, one called Apple TV, one called Fellowship. Or I could, that's not what I wanted to do, stop. I could make it really crazy and send my video to myself. So we'd see that infinite regression again. And if you need to, then open your sound preferences to get to your input devices and your output devices. Most of the time, people generally don't have more than one input device. But when you do, you're dealing with audio recording or mixing, you might have a microphone, different cameras set up. And so it's not to have this device, excuse me, and output device option. That's a lot faster to go option click menu. I'm sorry, the speaker menu than it is to open system preferences. The battery menu does both similar things. If we hold the option key down, battery menu, it tells me programs that are using significant amounts of energy. And it was a feature they added, I think, in 10, maybe 10.11, that someone called energy sharing. So especially on a laptop, you want to know what programs are using your battery up. And so it will show you what programs are using your battery. And it also gives you the condition of battery. And as your battery ages and you put more cycles on it, charge to discharge cycles, your battery will chemically wear out. And the status, excuse me, the status will change over time to a week, and then it will eventually say replace. So it's a way to keep an eye on the condition of your battery. Your wireless menu, normally you pull it down and it just shows you what you can find. If we hold the option key down, it gives me a whole bunch of more stuff. A lot of this is technical stuff that average folks don't need, but sometimes you're asked this. If you call support, my wireless isn't working, and they're going to ask you things. One of the things they might have you change is what channel you're on, and what speed you're getting. So when I put this down, my transmit is 104 gigabit, and I'm on 802.11n on channel 32, and now just switch to channel 15. So this tells you what your current speed is and your signal to noise ratio. So we're at 45 decibel meters. The larger the number, the worse the noise is. So if you have too much noise in your environment, then degrades your network signal. And 2.4 megahertz is the frequency that wireless uses, and that's called the junk frequency by the FCC, because everything uses the 2.4 gigahertz network. Microwave oven is 2.4 gigahertz. So if you have your computer in the kitchen while you're nuking your coffee, your network connection might be weak. Many portable telephones use 2.4 gigahertz and will mess up. When the phone rings, your wireless connection might drop. So we're looking to buy devices, not even necessarily things that are computer related, like a portable phone. Check what frequency it's on. And if it happens to be on the 2.4 gigahertz band, then you can often change the channel. And so you may have seen that on your portable phones where you can switch channels. So if your neighbor happens to buy the same brand portable phone you have, if you're on his channel, you can hear his calls and vice versa. Yeah, portable phones would leak. Basically, the base station is transceiver, and it's a radio, and if you've got another receiver close enough, you can hear it too. Most of the newer phones, there's especially in portable phones, there's something called the detect system, DECTT, that helps against that, so that people don't get crosstalk like that, and the fact that physical phones are kind of dying as everyone moves to cell phones, and cell phones are encrypted to begin with, so it's a lot harder to do that. But when I was a kid, we had a Bearcat scanner, and we could scan police frequencies, and you could get a chip to scan portable phone frequencies too, because it's a radio, and if you don't want anyone to listen, don't broadcast. Your message icon, see, I'm not using messages. Is it going to let me do that? You can tell people, so messages is the program that you send messages between your Apple devices. And from computer to computer, you can have a status available. So the person at the other end, when they look in their buddy list, they'll see this status. And so you can put custom notes in. You can put the current song you're listening to on iTunes. And so other people can see what you're doing. It's not as big a deal anymore because we don't do much computer-to-computer texting. It's all phone-to-phone. But that was a neat option that was in there. Yeah, in the Messages app, in addition to doing straight, let me bring it up, messaging and forth between devices, there's also a feature called share. If you are talking, I sent myself a test. If you're talking to someone, there's an option to share my screen. Which one of these commands is it in? There we go, share my screen. So you can invite them to see your screen, or you can ask to see their screen. And so you can use this as remote troubleshooting. You know, a friend called you and I can't do this. Well, let's do screen sharing and figure out how to do that. So you control their computer as if you're sitting in front of them. This is also how the bad guys sneak into your computer and trick you out of your money with all these fake virus and fake ransomware messages that come up on the internet. You know, they use a